Welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be back. It's been a while.
It has been a
I
while.
thought that you had just totally moved on without me, and
No, man, we are drilling into some topics, and I got a really, really good topic I want to talk to you today about. This might be nothing, but it might be something.
yeah,
I can't stop thinking about how we are all hypocrites.
okay.
We are all hypocrites. And what I mean by that, of course, is that, like, when was the last time you were stoked about advertisements? When was the last time you were on the web and you thought, yes, an ad, I have to sit through this ad. I cannot wait to sit through this 60-second ad before I watch my YouTube video, or I'm reading an article and, oh my God, I'm so stoked about this advertisement that just took up the entire screen.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's been a long time since I can remember doing that. I cannot wait for the skip button to
That's
appear.
right. Yep.
On the pre-roll stuff, even though we produce a lot of that for our clients. So I guess that's where the hypocrisy comes in.
That's part of it, but I'm going to say that we as a population, yes, we are hypocrites because that's precisely what we do for brands. We tell brands how to advertise and communicate to their audiences. Meanwhile, we all have probably ad blockers installed and all that. But we as a general, but no one is innocent here. We as a general population are also hypocrites because we love to buy some stuff.
We do love to buy stuff. I bought a new set of steak knives just this week.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Steak knives is not something I've ever thought that I need to buy, but maybe I should buy some steak knives. I wish I'd been advertised to about what steak knives I should get.
Maybe to your point.
Yeah.
I didn't buy them because I saw an ad for them.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the crux of this. So this is what I'm getting at. So it seems like every episode we do here is like this existential question of, like, why is it this way? And so I have been thinking a whole bunch lately. Just, we're on the long end of the Super Bowl, right? Everybody gets real excited about advertisements around the Super Bowl, and then everybody stops talking about advertisements. And I want to come back to that in just a minute. But people in general hate advertising, but they love to buy things. Yeah. So why is it that we hate being sold to so badly, but yet we are the most consumer society that has ever existed, ever? So I want to get to the bottom of this, and willing to bet you got some thoughts on this.
I do have some thoughts about it. But it is kind of two distinct questions for me, and I think maybe I have some insight into one part of it, but maybe not so much the other part of it.
Okay.
Like the part that I don't have the insight into that I wish I did, and I'm sure there's a ton of work out there that you could read about it, is why do we like to buy stuff so much? Why are we such a consumer society? And I think that gets into some existential stuff about,
well, I think
we're trying to fill something.
Fill a hole, fill a need. Well, there's the very real need of, I need toilet paper, I need I need food, I need clothes, I need all the things.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the easy discussion of, like, I don't think we can solve that. We're not here to answer that. And it's like not even judging the fact that we are a consumer society. Right. That's what we are. But how can you have a consumer society that also hates advertising? Because if you're going to consume, you need to know what to get. Right. And so there's something happening there. And I want to figure out what that is.
Well, I want to throw the question back at you in terms of why do we hate, maybe hate's too strong a word. Why do we dislike advertising? Seems like we dislike advertising more now than before. Do you agree with that we didn't used to hate advertising as much as maybe the current moment?
At the risk of sounding like an old man of, like, yelling at clouds and get off my lawn and thinking everything was always better back in the day, I kind of do think ads suck now pretty badly.
Yeah.
And now all right, what I'm getting at though on that is just, like, in the sense that I think everybody is hyper aware that you cannot look anywhere without seeing an advertisement or a sponsorship of some form. It used to just be the Super Bowl halftime show, right? But now it's like the Pepsi halftime show sponsored by Apple Music, brought to you by Procter and Gamble, microphones provided by, Sennheiser, whatever. I mean, it's like, it's so much. You go to any news website, it's bombarded, and everybody, I think, is just sick of that. However, have you seen those pictures of Times Square or basically any downtown from like the 40s and the 50s where there was just billboards everywhere? So like this idea that advertising is everywhere is not new, I don't think. So I don't know if it's that. I think that there is some sort of issue with the quality of ads. And I also think that we as a society, I suppose, have lost a little bit of togetherness when it came to ads, meaning that like there's no, besides the Super Bowl or sporting event, no one's watching the same shows at the same time and seeing an advertisement for the first time and being able to sit down and talk about it. So when advertisers had that kind of captive audience, they had to make a pretty big impact. Because you got that moment and you needed everybody to talk about you once that moment was gone. And so that's when so that's where my old man mentality is just like, oh, it was so great in the 80s and 90s when you had these really awesome commercials, those 30-second commercials. I don't think we have that anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of it. Also think there's the performance metric situation going on, right? Which is what every company does right now is they want to see the clicks. They want those vanity metrics. Click, 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 click. So now ads are optimized basically like a game. They've been gamified, and I think people are just sick of it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think all of that. I mean, I think for me, you're right in that advertising has always, since advertising became a thing, we have done a great job of finding all the different platforms to put it.
Wherever we can put an advertisement, we're going to do it. Yeah.
But there is something different about a billboard.
Mm-hmm.
There's something different about quite frankly, a beautifully shot and written print ad in a nice glossy magazine.
Yeah.
There's something different about a 30-second or even remember the old 1 minute long commercials.
Ooh, yeah, the 60-second
on broadcast television.
Big money commercial right there.
Big money. That there's something different about all those things that you can see it, but you're in that space. You're sharing a space with it.
Right.
And you can still flip the channel. You can turn the page. And digital ads that follow you around, they stalk you.
They stalk you. Interesting what you're saying about like, yes, you can still turn the page or you could still change the channel.
So it better be good.
I think that's what's missing here is you're right. It better be damn good to make you not want to change the channel or not flip the page. The stakes are so low now.
Right.
They basically hold you. I mean, YouTube is the most, obvious, like just the worst version of this. Like it used to be, oh, you need to see this quick 15-second clip. Let me show you. And now you're forced to an unskippable ad at the beginning.
Right.
You can't leave it unless you're just going to abandon what you came to watch altogether.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, if we've got them, we don't really have to put all that much effort into making this as a decent ad because they're going to have to watch it anyway.
Yeah. And it's,
ugh.
And there is a part of it that the very thing that the advertising industry and corporate America likes to tout about how smart we've gotten.
Uh-huh.
We know what you're so we're going to serve you ads that we know that you're interested in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but it's creepy. It's creepy.
It is creepy.
And the thing that is supposedly not good about the old way of doing it is I'm going to put this ad on a billboard, or I'm going to put this ad in a magazine, or I'm going to put this, and we have no idea if those people are interested in it or not.
That's right.
But it makes it less creepy to the person who sees it. And so you don't feel as about it.
You don't feel as repulsed about it or
right.
whatever. And it is creepy in the sense that like how, especially, I mean, I don't think most consumers think about it. I think they just think the internet is this magical place that knows everything. And so like when you start go to other sites and that shoe ad follows you around.
Uh-huh.
I don't think people are thinking about it as in like, how did they know that? A lot of times I will look at something on a platform or I don't know. Sometimes I'll see the ad and I'm not sure where they got that data from. I'm
Yeah.
like, where? And so that's where I start to get creeped out. I'm like,
Yeah.
which part of my life sold the data to provide this ad? You know, because I get it. If I go to, you know, Nordstrom's website and I click on a pair of shoes, that's such a clear indicator that when I leave that site, those shoes are going to follow me around everywhere.
Sure.
But if I am reading a news article and there is a, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example of what that might be. A news article or maybe, I don't know. Like, I feel like...
I've got one. I'm a sports guy, as you know.
Okay, yeah.
I'll read an article on The Athletic. I have
Okay.
a subscription to The Athletic.
Yep.
And let's say I read an article about, for whatever reason, the San Antonio Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of my favorite teams, but there's a cool headline. Sounds interesting. What's going on with them?
Yeah.
Let me check into this.
Uh-huh.
And then I get served an ad from Ticketmaster to buy Spurs tickets.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. And so now you're thinking, okay, I had no idea that, oh, here's another one. You search for something on your car's nav system or whatever, right? You ever use your car's nav system and like you just need to find somewhere to go?
Yeah.
And you're like, I need directions to, you know, insert store here.
Yeah.
And then you'll start getting ads for that.
Yeah.
On online on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, that's creepy. I didn't know that all those systems were talking to each other. So yeah, there's that big creep factor there. And I forgot where I was going with that. So hopefully you'll bring us back on track. But like, there's the creep factor, but then there's also, it doesn't work. I mean,
right.
Yeah, it does in the sense that like, I looked at those shoes and now I'm getting stalked by the shoes. But once I buy the shoes, I'll still get stalked by the shoes for the next 6 months.
Right.
Or, you know, the most recent example for me, I love American Express. I think they're a great brand for all sorts of reasons.
Yep.
But for all of what they do so well, customer support and all that kind of stuff, every time I log into the Amex website, I get an ad or a pop-up promotion trying to convince me to upgrade my card to a card I already have.
To the card you already have. Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just it's the same. Yeah, so you have the stalking factor. It's kind of creepy, and it's all a part of, which we talked about before many times, this kind of short-term thinking.
Right.
That so many brands, so many people that run big brands, big companies are susceptible to.
Right.
It's short-term metrics at the expense of the long-term reputation, the long-term prestige of the brand. And that's why we like to focus more on the brand side, brand marketing versus performance marketing.
Right.
Because I do think you sacrifice something over time, which brings us back to kind of what maybe, I don't know if this is where you were going. Are people like you and I, who are men of a certain age, are we more creeped out by this because we remember what it used to be like? Like, I think about our kids, they haven't really lived in a world without this. So do they even notice this as much? Are people younger than us even bothered by this?
That's a great point. And of course, I'm surrounded by my kids' friends, my nieces and nephews that are all of that age. And I'm always asking them random questions like this. They're like, oh, there goes dad again, asking focus group kind of questions. But it's interesting because they clearly respond to brands. And they clearly respond to, like, meaning brands are important. And brands can only be important if they have something behind them. Yeah. And that something maybe is they've created a movement, or they have a certain cachet. There's a certain price point. It's hard to get, whatever. But they are hyper-focused on brands they are not hyper-focused on ads like you and I wish they would be. Like a beautifully done, photographed, well-written copy ad that you and I would like sort of drool over in a magazine or think is super clever, they're going to skip right past it. And I'm not immune to that. Like I'm aware that there is a whole different ballgame for how that works. However, they're also not responding to the same types of ads we're talking about that are just like bottom of the barrel dog shit, click me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the real question is, actually, it's not even the real question. I mean, like the through line here is the best storytelling for the brand wins. I still think that is relevant today. Now, you asked me a question when we were chit-chatting about this back in the office that I thought was super fascinating, which was we think about the ads of yore, right? You can think about all the great, and they're almost always TV ads, some print ads, but the TV ads really capture your attention because we as humans, we remember things that are audio-visual, that we are audio-visual creatures. Also, side note, I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but the former lead at, I can't remember what their position was at Cadbury, the chocolate company over in England. I was reading an article about their history, and their premise was that the 30-second television commercial was the single greatest thing to happen to brands ever, because the 30-second television spot is the perfect mix of things you need to become memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Music, visuals, short attention span, lock it in. So I think when we think back on all those great ads, the Nike ads, the Just Do It, Michael Jordan, the beer ads, I think you are pretty fond of the Michelob ads of the day. The night belongs to Michelob, right? The Budweiser ads, that...
I'll even go back before that. In the 70s, it was The Weekend is made for Michelob.
The Weekend is made for Michelob. And you remember that, and Michelob doesn't even exist anymore.
Correct.
All right, so you had asked me back in the office, like, do we still love those brands today because of the effort they put into those impeccable advertisements back in the day? And I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up Coca-Cola. Like they own the holidays, right? Even Mars, the candy company with the M&Ms and all that.
Gatorade.
Melt in your mouth, not in your hand. Like, yeah, Gatorade, thirst quencher. Like everybody remembers that stuff. And it's a really interesting question because I think I know the answer is that I don't think we love these brands because those ads existed at one point in time, because our kids love those brands still today. Now, but here is an interesting thought experiment to take that one step further. Can you think of a company that has started in the past 10 years that you would be genuinely sad if they disappeared tomorrow? And I'm going somewhere with this because I have another theory about this.
10 years is not a very long.
It's not a long time. But
But there was a time when, in my lifetime, I can remember Nike being only 10 years old, and I would have been sad to see it go away.
Okay, but that was back then.
Right. When Apple was only 10 years old, I would have been sad to see it go away.
So let me blow your mind. It's 2026. So 10 years ago would be 2016.
Right.
Which is absurd.
Right.
But can you think of a company that has started within, since the 20-teens that you would be sad if they went away?
I can't. I can't name one.
I don't think you can. I mean, I think we can name plenty of companies that have come and started, but would we care if the ones I was thinking about is actually there was probably pre-2016, but I would just say in the 2000s, right? We could maybe even give it some grace there and say 25 years.
Okay.
So there was a rash of companies that started post, glamorous advertising. And I think about the companies like Warby Parker.
Yep.
Dollar Shave Club.
Yep.
Casper mattresses.
What about Yeti?
And Yeti, right? So these were all, well, I'm going to leave Yeti out for just a second. The first three, so Warby Parker, Dollar Shave Club, Casper mattress, and I'm sure there's a handful of others, those shot up out of nowhere and became wildly successful. but they didn't do any advertising. So I don't think there was this love of advertising, but they basically disrupted. It was a paradigm shift in how you shop. They cut out the middleman. It was direct to consumer via the internet. So I can just order the things and it shows up. There was some sort of novelty aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Casper's mattress in a box, right? Kind of the novelty there, or the fact that Warby Parker would send you a whole case to try on all the different glasses, and it was just super simple. Dollar Shave Club had that ridiculous, great advertisement, but it was all digital, where the CEO's like walking through the warehouse causing chaos, as he tries to say. Anyway, all of the Warby Parker is still, I think pretty prominent. But when was the last time you thought about? I mean, Casper Mattress is now competing with like probably 200 different companies that can send you a mattress in a box,
right?
Including all the big staid companies like Sealy and all that. But if Casper or Warby Parker or Dollar Shave Club went away tomorrow, I don't think people would be super upset about it. So what I'm getting at is there are certain brands that have become so unbelievably loved. If they went away, people would be genuinely upset. The big ones, Apple, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mars Candy. Like, if any of those brands went away, I think people would be really genuinely sad about it. But I don't think that happens anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that it does. And so where does that, so again, that goes back to, is there some kind of legacy of storytelling, of emotional connection through the storytelling and then the experience that you have with the product,
right,
that is still resonant even to younger folks?
I think that's what's missing here, is that for my examples, Warby Parker and Casper and all that, they sold, they got attention and people liked those brands because they sold a friction-free experience, which becomes, if that's the selling point, once everything else becomes friction-free, we did a whole episode on this, right? Where it's like, once you become frictionless, you're just kind of there. You're like a vending machine.
You're just another vending machine.
And so while they did get successful, they didn't tell a story about themselves.
Right.
It's very easy to do through the great advertising methods that we've been talking about that we so greatly miss. But if the times have changed and that's not the thing anymore, you still have to do it. I'm pretty sure you still have to do it.
Yeah. This reminds me, we sat down with a new client last week.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great kind of initial intake meeting. And you know how it is when you think, okay, you're always excited about a new client.
Yeah.
But you also, we've been doing this long enough that you don't know how it's going to work out.
How it's all going to unfold, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But this guy who owns the company and he's owned the company for a long time. He said something in that meeting. I was like, oh no, we're going to get along with this guy great.
Uh-huh.
This is our kind of client.
Yeah.
He was talking about his approach in selling and his approach about business development.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a line that was like, he has a little bit of a novel way of how he approaches the initial stages of a new client or customer of his own.
Okay.
And he said, I do it this way because I'm not just interested in the transaction. I'm interested in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want the contract. I want
the relationship. I remember that comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't hear that much.
You don't hear that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's related to the whole frictionless thing. It's a transactional relationship, and those things come and go.
They do. Yep.
If you're only about a transaction, then that's short term. It's going to work great. And you're going to be focused on, well, how come people aren't clicking on the app? Well, maybe we need to change the button. Oh my God, maybe we need to make the button bigger. Maybe we need to change the color. Maybe we need to go with all caps.
Yeah.
And you
add an exclamation mark.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah. And you're just like, oh gosh.
Right.
And yeah, we can fiddle around with that stuff all the live long day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's best practices that show you how to do it, which, by the way, all the best practices tools are now democratized and available to everyone.
To every single one. So are they really best practices if
everyone's doing it?
Right.
Again, you don't stand out. But yeah, some short-term wins. You might sell a few more eyeglasses today. You might sell a few more mattresses today.
Right.
But long-term, what do you have?
Right.
What?
And it's funny that like
And do the people running these companies even care? Because they're going to be on to the next company.
I think that's the other part.
They're going to be on to something else in 2 or 3 years anyway.
That's the other part that I think about a lot is that, you know, most of the time there seems to be in the leadership position, there seems to be a lot of, I don't really care if it's an entrepreneur, for example, who's in it for the exit strategy.
Right.
You know, I see that a lot over my years of doing this. It's like they don't really care because they know that as soon as they get it to a point that they are just going to sell the company and they're going to cash out and they don't really care.
Right.
Or a VC company buys a brand and they care zero. There's zero given about the brand. Pardon my language there. But they're going to squeeze everything they can out of it. And if the brand loses all of its customers, they don't care. They got their money moving on. I think
or even sometimes there's the third one.
What?
Which is big brand buys upstart to just
wipe them out.
To just wipe them out.
To just totally wipe them out.
It's worth it
You're
to
right.
them.
Yep.
To spend the money to not have to compete with them.
To just get them out of the way. Yep. Mark Zuckerberg is a champion at doing that. Yeah. That is disturbing to me. And I feel like it should be disturbing to everybody because what that means is, again, we did a whole episode on this as well, which is like that's enshittification of everything. And meaning that like things are getting worse and it's because of this business approach of let's just scale it, sell it, move on, do the next thing. Now, bringing it back to something that we care deeply about, I'd like to make a prediction that like everything in society seems to be a tick-tock process, right? Right-wing leadership, left-wing leadership.
Dealership also applies.
You know, I'm watching this, you know, I'm a slim fit guy for life, but I'm watching that like slim fit is like instantly dates me as an elder millennial, right? And so like all of a sudden wide jeans are coming back. I'm having flashbacks to the 90s and the 80s. And so like everything does this. So I'd like to think that we will see a renaissance of brands that care about the long term. Or this movement of back towards not necessarily mom and pop, maybe mom and pop to a degree, but like this move back to like artisan care in the brand. You know, because we have gotten to a point now where people are so skeptical of businesses' true goals or their ethics practice, you know, their ethical practices or whatever. I think people are just kind of sick of it.
I agree. And I think you're seeing the green shoots of that in a couple of different ways. I don't know if you've noticed this uptick recently maybe not recently, it's been going on for a while, but there's even been a more noticeable uptick lately of leaders across all different sectors, definitely in the corporate world, but also in the nonprofit world. Big focus on this now of we need to tell our story better. We're going to get back to storytelling.
Right.
Storytelling. Okay, well, why do you feel that itch? Why is that an itch that all of a sudden you need to scratch? It's speaking to all this.
I think you're right. I would add to that. I think one of the phrases that I'm so sick of hearing is that when somebody's like, we need to tell our story better. Because I think people hear that and they're like, that's exactly what we need to do, but they don't really understand what they mean by that.
Right.
Telling your story better means not putting more fancy words in your description or whatever. Telling your story better might mean shut up. Stop saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
And start putting out, you know, interesting or compelling or jaw-dropping one-line messages in your advert. You know, like storytelling is not, let's change the little story that appears on the header of our website.
Right. Yeah. Let's revise our about page.
Right.
The other one is this real big focus on authenticity. We need to be more authentic. what they're tapping into is we need to develop a more lasting, durable connection with the people that we're trying to either sell to or connect with.
Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting about that is so you start seeing goofy things like the McDonald's CEO. I guarantee you in some conference room at McDonald's headquarters, with a bunch of people who are getting paid a lot of money to be marketing directors. There's been conversations about authenticity. We need to be authentic.
What's more authentic than getting the CEO to sit in front of a camera?
People need to see your face, and if they just knew who you were and they knew who the people were behind this, they would want to buy more McDonald's burgers.
And what a better way?
Show you eating your lunch,
which happens to be a brand new hamburger.
Right.
Yeah.
So the impulse. And what they're trying to...
was correct.
They understand the problem. The impulse to do something about it is right.
Yep.
The execution is going to be janky.
And it was. And I am watching very closely to see how well they the marketing. The real marketing team at McDonald's has done a pretty funny thing. They went and posted an official one. And of course, they're not calling the big arch of a hamburger. It is a product.
Product, So they're just going to lean into it, which is the best response they could have had.
And honestly, it is. It's self-aware. It caught people's attention. It created a little bit of a moment. And that the internet memes are the closest thing we have to the collective. We're all looking at the same thing at the same time, right? And so I do love it when these sort of memes arise and they last for maybe a couple of weeks, because that's what commercials used to do.
Right.
Back in the day, like during big, the season finale of the most popular TV show. And did you see that ad about the so-and-so or whatever? Right. And so I kind of like the meme culture in that regard. Yeah. When it works out, of course, it's a very dangerous game to play, because you can get roasted if you do it wrong.
Yes. But the way they're going to address it is you need to tell your story better. That's not going to be done by a bunch of the same folks sitting in the same conference rooms trying to figure it out. You know how you do that? You hire really good storytellers.
Right.
And you let them,
as much as you'd like to think that you can tell your own story in-house. The CEO at McDonald's is the perfect example.
Right.
He cannot be himself in front of the camera and eat that product and look natural about it.
No.
And that's okay. Like, not everybody's designed to be that way. But this understanding that you may not be able to tell your story the best way, it's okay. Right. It's okay to admit that.
Right. Which goes back to, again, one of our things we talk about all the time is how people make connections. And they do make connections through, what separates humans from animals is the fact that there's a lot of things. But one of the things is that we do connect through stories.
Right.
We have always, before there was advertising, we were telling stories around the campfire.
Yeah, that's how. That's pretty much how communities carried on their traditions, right?
Correct.
It's
and that's when advertising was at its best.
Mm-hmm.
That was the heart of it. And so there is a science to all of this stuff.
Yeah, there is.
But there is an art to it. There always has been.
Yeah.
And when it's done best, there still is. And all of the reason that we don't like advertising today is because a lot of that has been stripped out of it.
I think it absolutely hits the nail on the head, because and if we bring that all the way back, it's like we do hate being sold to, because it makes us feel like we're being taken advantage of, or that we're being treated like cattle, or whatever, your personal opinion is on that. But we as people do like advertising, whether you want to admit it or not, because good advertising does its job, plants a seed and disappears, helps you think, helps you remember, whatever it does, it makes you recall that brand and think fondly of the brand. Yeah. So we actually do like advertising, but it needs to be good advertising. And of course, what we mean by that is it doesn't have to be a 30-second commercial, although those are pretty great.
They're incredible.
It just needs to be the right story.
Yes.
At the right place, at the right time. Yep. And there is an absolute art to that, because people are weird creatures, and you can algorithm the shit out of us as much as you want. But on a random Tuesday, something's going to happen, and the whole world's going to focus on what color is this dress, and all that. You just can't predict that kind of stuff.
The best algorithm is still the human algorithm, and that lives kind of here and
Right.
here, and it's like we talked about this in the office. It could be magical when it was done well. And again, I'm a sports guy, so I can go back to 1991. I grew up in North Carolina. When I was in 4th grade, North Carolina won the national championship, and a skinny 18-year-old named Michael Jordan hit the game-winning shot.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that, like, our heroes, whether it's a sports hero or, the generation before me, the astronauts,
Yep.
whatever, there's nothing like a hero that is your hero when you're 9 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so Michael Jordan's always been my guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so fast forward several years after that, 1991, I'm in college. He wins his first NBA championship with the Chicago Bulls in June. And then that following fall, I'm back for my sophomore year at Appalachian State. And the first Saturday Night Live, which was always appointment viewing of the season, is on, and he was going to be the host. Smart move, SNL.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan in 1991 was still a big deal, but he was not the icon that he was to become over the next, 6 or 7, 8, 9, 20 years.
Yeah.
But it was still a big deal that he was hosting SNL. And so he comes out, he does the opening monologue. It's great. He was kind of funny, but he's not a comedian. But it was still cool. We were all like, Michael Jordan's on SNL. We couldn't believe it. And they go to their first commercial after his opening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that iconic Be Like Mike Gatorade commercial.
Yes, I know. I knew where you're going with this. I love that commercial.
With that incredible song that they had to pay someone or someone's to write and sing and produce.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully shot, and you had all these smiling kids, and the payoff line, I want to be like Mike. And we wanted to be like Mike. And the Gatorade was beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even mention Gatorade.
Right.
I mean, there's a couple shots of him drinking it.
Perfectly positioned, I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But here's
that was a moment.
And here's what's interesting about that is
it was magic.
Let's presume that they could have had an algorithm create all of those ads at the time. An algorithm could not possibly have put themselves inside the mind of a teenager or the 9-year-old that you were, right? Like, you cannot put an algorithm or an AI agent cannot possibly understand what's going on in the halls of school, what they're getting excited about, or like, the conversations that are happening on the playground about Mike, but humans can, because they're hearing it and they're witnessing it and they're formulating ideas. And that song was probably written based on a feeling they got about a conference room probably didn't say kids want to be like Mike.
No.
I'm pretty sure they overheard kids or observed kids wanting to literally be like Mike.
Yes.
And so I think that's a great example of what you're talking about, which is like, if we tie it all back again to like, we've talked about AI on one of these episodes, AI can make everything look incredible.
Sure.
But AI cannot, and I still don't see a way that it ever can understand, I'm going to use a big word, I think I'm going to use it right, the zeitgeist.
Yes, that's the right word.
Of what people are feeling. And there's always this sort of untangible something simmering among all of us at any given time.
Especially at the moment it goes to that
right. And when you can feel that Michael Jordan is about to become an international phenom, now's the time to strike with like I just don't think AI can pick up on stuff like that. But so that's the art that you're talking about.
Correct.
And I feel like
we
haven't seen a lot of that lately.
No, we haven't. And that because we've gone the other direction, and people have lost the appetite to spend the money on that type of, quite frankly, human talent.
Right.
And that can figure that out.
And I want to be clear, like, it seems like every episode here is like, the sky's falling, or like, God, everything sucks now. And maybe some
stuff does.
Some stuff does. We're not saying that, like, I want to be clear that, like, these are big observations that we're making. And I will play devil's advocate and understand precisely how we got here. How sexy is it to know that the thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're spending on an ad campaign, how sexy is it to know how many people actually clicked on it, how many eyeballs saw it, compared to writing a check to CBS Media for $2 million and just hoping, you know? So I get it. Like, the digital space promised some very sexy information to marketers that in theory was going to make advertising even better, because it's like, why am I wasting time? There's actually a commercial out right now. I think it's for IBM. I don't know who it's for, but it seems like an IBM commercial where there's like a bunch of archaeologists out there digging or whatever, and they look up and there's like a server rack sitting right there in the middle of the desert. And they're like, stop advertising your servers to archaeologists, meaning you're wasting your ad dollars putting your ads in the wrong space. Digital was supposed to solve all that and get us to this real, but the problem was we got so laser focused on the metrics that we completely overlooked and lost the plot.
Yes.
So I would love to throw it out there that, you know, again, to all 2 listeners,
there's me and you, your mom.
My mom's both listeners, you know, probably. She downloads on her iPad and her phone. There are 2 listeners right there. You can be a brand that wants to be driven by the bottom line metrics, transaction driven.
Optimize.
You can do that. There's truly no judgment if that is the brand that you decide you want to be, because you can make money that way. You can make a decent amount of money that way. I'm not stupid. Like, I get that. But those are the brands that cannot be upset when people bounce and go somewhere else. And maybe those people who run in companies like that don't care. They really don't. And that's fine. That is one way to do business. The other way to do business, and what we constantly are chasing after, there are folks out there who care.
Yes.
There are folks out there who are making buying decisions based on how deeply they feel for a brand.
Yes.
And they hate advertising, but they hate advertising that sucks.
Right.
They actually do like advertising. It just needs to be the right way.
It needs to be better.
Right. It needs to be better.
And when you do it that way, and when it's a part of a sustained long-term vision for building relationships, being about the relationship, not just the transaction, inevitably you're going to have difficulties. You're going to have difficulties either that are unique to you, internal to your organization. You're going to have difficulties because of the macroeconomic environment changes that you have no control over.
Right.
There's a war. There's a blow up in the stock market. There's who knows?
Tariffs.
There's all kinds of things that you have no control over.
Right. They're
going to impact your business.
Yep.
And if you have built the relationships, if you have focused on storytelling, and it's not just this quarter's buzzword, people are going to hang in there with you.
They will. I talked about it on a previous episode, but I did a deep dive on Rolex as a brand and the history of that company, and it was truly fascinating. I love all this stuff. To understand how they got
Talk about a great product.
Talk about a great product and a great brand. And when was the last time you saw a commercial for Rolex?
I don't know that I've ever seen a commercial for a Rolex that I can remember. I've seen, again, some nice print ads.
Some good print ads and some really, really, really clever collaborations, sponsorships. Now, and so specifically to what you're just saying is Rolex has seen, they technically started in the early 1920s, but the Rolex that we know and love as the luxury, the pinnacle of, accessible luxury watch making didn't really happen until around the 50s or 60s for various reasons. But that was also, so they became sort of the de facto, like, this is what leaders wear. This is what, when you've made it, you wear a Rolex. Well, then like 10 or 15 years later, the freaking quartz movement started, where it was like, who gives a crap about mechanical watches? We can get unbelievably precise time with a digital watch or a quartz crystal instead of having this sort of mechanics going on. And Rolex could have very easily, pivoted and
Lowered the price point.
lowered the price point and started making nothing. I mean, they actually do make crystal movements, beyond their automatics. But they knew who they were, and they remained consistent with, no, we make luxury, handmade for the most part, mechanical watches. And they kept their price points, and they just stayed steady the whole way. And then eventually everybody came back to really appreciating mechanical watches. And then their brand cachet kind of went up even more than it already was. COVID happened. Supply chains got absolutely decimated. One example that they had mentioned in this history was that, some of Rolex competitors like Omega and others were panicking because they had to change the price of their watches for it to make sense, right? So supply chain constraints, so they had to increase the price of their watches, and then once everything sort of stabilized again, they had overpriced their stuff, and so they had to lower their prices to get competitive again, and by lowering their prices, all of their existing inventory became instantly cheaper because of that. What did Rolex do? They stayed flat the whole time. They were like, nope, this is what we're going to do. And people stuck with it, right? Like, they love Rolex. And I don't know, that's kind of what you're talking about, is it's like you build the brand, you build the loyalty, stay the course, people stick with you through all of the societal ups and downs that inevitably will happen.
Yeah.
And if you've built enough brand loyalty and you've run the company successfully, that you've got the cash reserves or whatever, you'll still be here, and you'll still have a customer base. A point that I was thinking about earlier was something else that also seems to be a little bit lost today. You always hear, oh, they don't make them like they used to anymore. That's very true. They don't. But I feel like there used to be this mentality of like, I want to build a product that is so good that this customer is a customer for life, and that their children are customer for life. And like, there was this longevity play of like, this is not just like, how fat can I make my pockets before I die?
Right.
But like, I want to build something that is still what everyone wants long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
You don't see a whole lot of that anymore. I don't feel like. I think you said you read a study about this, or saw some sort of study about it. This isn't us just being old men being like, the sky is falling. Like, the performance marketing, there was research done. I don't remember who you said did the research on it, but what was the takeaway from that?
So the takeaway is that, and the data was pretty clear, that a focus on performance marketing, it does yield short-term results. A bunch of a heavy-duty, robust digital campaign that's following people around and prompting them to buy today, 50% off, absolutely has short-term results.
Yep.
But when that's your focus and you get away from the long-term brand marketing, that you're sacrificing long-term brand equity, brand loyalty, and affinity for the brand that isn't contingent on did you get hit with an ad on every single screen that you looked at today about the sale.
Yeah, I'm glad that has been quantifiably measured, because that's a feeling that we as a company have had for quite some time now. And the data proves it. I mean, and again, we'll go back to like, you can choose which kind of company you want to be, and there's nothing wrong with being either one of those companies.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, you probably need to have a little bit of a mix with a heavier emphasis though on the brand story.
That's a great point to make, which is like, we almost all these episodes we're talking about a very specific thing, and it almost sounds like we're saying you can't do that.
Right.
It's never what we're saying. No. Yeah, you absolutely have to do that. And I think you and I touched on this several episodes ago about United Airlines, right? Like, United Airlines clearly has to do performance marketing. It's like they're selling a flight special to Denver, like blah, 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 blah. Click here. You got to have that kind of advertising to kind of keep the thing moving. But at the same time, they are investing millions of dollars into brand advertising, meaning they actually did the work to change their story. United had gotten into a not great place. Like, they were really considered one of the worst airlines. And they I went to a talk where I got to hear the head of their marketing talk about all this, and they knew it. They knew that they had gotten to that place, and so they did. They spent the money to reframe their story. They're now considered the world's largest airline. There's several metrics in which you can consider. I don't remember what metric it is. It's either number of passengers or flight hours or whatever it is, but they are considered by one metric the largest airline on the planet. And their phrase during that talk was, we can't just be the biggest airline. We want to be the best airline.
Yeah.
And so they're working very hard to change people's opinion about the brand United.
Yeah. The experience of flying on their planes.
Right. And it's working.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I are now practically solely United.
Same.
And it was because they caught my attention. I was like, we had a bad experience with United years and years and years and years ago and vowed to never fly them again. But the right advertising, bringing this all back, even though I don't like to be advertised to, it caught my attention. They were addressing a thing that I needed them to address.
Yep.
And they advertised it to me in an effective way. And as of late, we've been flying nothing but United, and I've been very happy.
Well, and that goes back to something that we rarely talk about, but we probably maybe should in a future Notcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a lot of advertising and marketing is not that effective, and we don't like it because we're not dumb. Right. And we know that what it actually is trying to do is sell us a crappy product.
That's right. Yeah.
And so
you still have to have a good product or good service too. Let's not forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And marketing gets the blame for why aren't we selling,
always. Yeah.
We didn't sell enough. We had a bad quarter. We had a bad month. We had a bad weekend. It's marketing's fault. It's advertising's fault. The conversation is rarely about, well, people just don't want to buy your product.
Yeah.
Because it sucks.
Sometimes you got to have that real talk. I mean, sometimes your product or
United
service
has done the hard
sucks.
work of improving the product.
Their product did suck. They had a big problem, and they are addressing it.
I would love to see the other airlines follow suit, man. Golly, wouldn't it be great to flying again? I had a conversation with one of my kids recently, and they were like, because of not because of how many miles we fly, but because of one of our credit cards, we get access to some of the lounges in airports. And I can pay a little bit extra to bring a kid in, bring one of my kids in or whatever. And they're like, so what was it like before these lounges existed? And I said, it was like going to the airport.
Yeah.
Sorry. Excuse me. We can bleep that out too.
Yeah, well,
like, this is what flying used to be like. Now it is terrible unless you can pay the extra money to get into the lounge, which is what the airport used to just be like.
And that's the other thing I'm getting at. You're touching on talking about a shitty product. I mean, like nowadays, almost not all of them. Some lounges are just as bad as sitting at the terminal.
That's
because
so even those are there's probably a tier to even the lounges that you have to pay extra
there
for.
Actually is. I learned this the hard way.
That's great.
Speaking of United, we flew United on an overseas trip last summer with my family, and through some extra points on the credit card, I was able to bump us up to the business class.
Yeah.
Huge surprise for my family. Didn't cost me anything. It was awesome. And when we got to the airport, we went to the lounge. Like, we went to the United lounge, and we walked in there, and I was like, oh, But the lady at the front desk was like, oh, no, sir, you get access to the Polaris lounge.
Oh, that's...
The business class Polaris lounge is on the other terminal. You might want to go there. And we went in there, and it was like the damn Taj Mahal in there. So, yeah,
gotcha.
The lounge is,
So
that's a whole different topic, right?
Yeah.
Do we have the survivorship bias about great ads?
Quite possibly.
I mean, let's be real. Like, there was probably a whole bunch of really crappy ads that we're just not remembering from the end. I'm certain of it. I mean, so I just want to point that out there. To play devil's advocate, yes, we're romanticizing all the great ads. There's always going to be crappy ads.
Yeah, there's always been bad ads. I mean, the really bad, I don't want to offend anyone, present company included, but local business ads, there's some good ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's frequently not very good ones.
Very frequently.
And those have been around since I've been
Yep.
old enough to watch TV and know what I was watching.
That's right. Yep.
And not just relegated to local.
Yeah, even some big ads, I'm sure.
There's all kinds of national companies that have ads that just don't work. They bomb, or they're just forgettable.
Yeah.
But if you ever have an opportunity to thumb through an old magazine, just don't get fixated on any one particular ad, but just take in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And look at the quality. Look at the quality of the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the quality of the photography.
It's interesting.
Look at the overall care and aesthetics that went in
to creating
to that discipline back then.
Right.
Compared to what you're served today on your phone, on your iPad, on your laptop.
It's something to behold. And of course, the rampant sexism is hilarious. Hilariously bad. I mean, it's just like, what on earth were people thinking back then? But
that too.
All right. Cool. Let's go eat a product at
McDonald's.
All right, let's go.